such a significant development, the Trump administration finally pulling the trigger on energy sanctions, putting PDVSA itself on the sanctions list. This will essentially, I think, amount to an effective embargo of PDVSA products into the United States. While yes, Citgo can still operate in the U.S. if it goes in an escrow account and not to the Venezuelan government, in reality, why is the Venezuelan national oil company going to send any export to the United States if they cannot get paid?
There is another view, which I've heard here as well, is that actually it's quite a vague, opaque statement as well, and you were alluding to this off camera when we were talking about it as well, that actually the product can get to the United States via third parties as well, because there is opacity in the wording, isn't there?
No, absolutely, but it's going to create a lot of sort of confusion and a lot of risk for operating with Venezuela, and it's going to cause a lot of concern for foreign companies, foreign IOCs. Like, how do you deal with now a sanctioned entity with the U.S. Treasury Department? It says U.S. persons cannot do business with PDVSA. That's a pretty vague concept.
Yeah, and yet, as you've pointed out, and I have been reading a lot of your copy as well, it's about, 500,000 barrels get to the United States as well. Venezuela has been a tragedy for a long, long time, and I think we can say huge corruption, huge inept ability to run the economy. Very, very good oil ministers have been cut out of their position over the years. People you and I have known for many years, Del Pino, we can go back as well for Rafael Ramirez as well. And so we've seen a whole host of ministers come and go. And with all due respect to Mr. Quevedo, the OPEC president as well, he's not an oil man through and through. So the world's been ready for this, is my point.
And this is a tragedy that are 2 decades in the making. I mean, I remember the Venezuela oil strike in 2003. They never recovered from that first purge when thousands of talented technocrats left PDVSA. So the recovery of this country is going to be an enormous challenge. And we're just not there yet. I mean, we keep saying, well, will the military rise up against Maduro? Well, this is effectively a military government. I mean, Quevedo comes out of the National Guard. The defense minister runs the food distribution system in the country. So the question is, will this put so much pressure on the Venezuelan military, these sanctions, that they finally turn on Maduro? It's a real open question.
It is, and especially when you've got such a geopolitical consequence on the back of this as well. Many people are drawing parallels with Syria as well, how Mr. Putin prevented the US from imposing its vision of the Middle East on Syria. We know there are Russian assets in Venezuela. We know the Chinese are also vested behind this regime as well. This is an enormous geopolitical story.
I mean, you're so right to bring up the Syria example, because that became a frozen conflict once the Russians intervened, but they had a base there. And so that was a key strategic military asset that the Russians wanted to protect. The question is, does Venezuela constitute the same type of asset for the Russians? They've apparently sent their military contractors down there. They've lent Venezuela a tremendous amount of money. Igor Sechin has had a close relationship with the Venezuelan government for years. He used to apparently wear a Chavez t-shirt. So the question is, I would argue the Russians will be critical. How much financial support do they give to Maduro going forward?
Because, dare I say it, Trump needs a win. Pelosi at the moment is 1-0 up in this long battle over the shutdown as well. There are other concerns about the trade war with China as well. John Bolton, apparently, Mr. Bolton had, and we heard this story, the 5,000 troops to Colombia. I mean, that was an extraordinary faux pas, or was it on purpose? He never mentioned it in his press briefing, but it was on his copy, wasn't it, as well? Do you think Trump would go as far to create an international situation, possibly an invasion, in order to deflect from other issues he's having?
I mean, I don't believe that this is the first thing they want to do. I think they like to keep the idea out there that every option is on the table. But we don't know if President Trump, he talks a big game in terms of U.S. power, but the question is, does he really want to get caught in a military conflict in Venezuela? We don't know. I mean, sanctions are the first step. They obviously would like the military to do this for them, to turn on Maduro, but they certainly left the door open to something more serious.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Joanna Bersecci, and thank you for watching. You can check out more of our videos by clicking on the boxes on the screen. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more from CNBC International. Thank you for watching.